Hello, my name is Claudia and I'm the owner of Eat, Love and Seeds, and this is my story. One of the high moments I think in our lives back in Peru was when my mom would make this chocolate cakes over there. In middle school, I went to West Miami Middle School, and I remember that one of our projects was to make a dessert, and it was to make a crepe. That was my beginning. That's when I got inspired and I made the crepe and everybody loved it. And I was in middle school and my parents and my sister, my brother, everybody really loved it. And it just like totally it was talking to me saying, okay, I'm good at this. When I started high school, I started having health problems. So I started having seizures, and I started when I was 15, and the high school that I was going to at that time, came to the conclusion that it wasn't really smart to keep me in the school because I had a seizure while I was in one of the field trips. So they asked my parents to, take me out and finish in homeschool. But that kind of set a little bit of the tone of my youth, because when you're more prohibited to do certain things, and not because your parents don't want you to do it, but more because you can't really do them, then you have I think as a young person, what happened to me was I had this resentment inside my heart, and I wanted to prove the world, prove everybody wrong, that I actually can do it and I can be independent, and I don't need 100 people looking after me. So, I started living my life a little bit faster than I should have, and that's when I remember saying one day I really wanted someone to just love me no matter what, through thick and thin, and I wanted a love that couldn't abandon you even in the hardest moment. And that's how I happened to have my first son. At that time was pushed to it wasn't what I wanted anymore, it was what I needed to do. And I kind of got pushed into being able to work in the corporate America, and just, land and run. My career started moving towards a business aspect, like the business administration. And I remember as my oldest, he was 8 years old, and then I had a 1-year-old this time, so they were both growing. But my first son started having, a little bit of issues with a lot of sweets and desserts, and I wanted to do something good for my kids. I wanted to make sure that we were eating the cake and we didn't have to worry about everything else. I wanted to make sure that the kids were eating something that I knew what was in it, and that's how I started. Next thing you know, someone had mentioned it, I had a referral from somebody, and then they order a cake. And our first cake for me and my mom, the first order was a communion cake. I kept getting people asking me for small cakes, and it was I enjoyed it. And then so I started taking online courses to kind of get more serious about what I was doing. It started as a hobby, and then in 2014 I decided to create its own company. We're just getting orders and more orders, and I said, why not have its own company? And I created its own logo, which is a pink owl. And as I was creating the logo, one day I walked out in my patio and there was an owl standing there looking at me. It was huge, and it was right at my door. He wouldn't move. He wouldn't move the entire day. I think it was just meant to be, because at this time, while I was working in corporate America, I was baking at night, because I had my little ones. So I had to find the moment where, okay, things are calm in the house, the kids are bathed and they're ready to bed, and that's when I start baking. It was something I loved. I really enjoyed doing it, and it really brought a lot of happiness to me. But yeah, at that time it was becoming really more and more difficult. So I kind of prayed for it. As a company continued getting restructures, I pray that if it was my time, that that God would put it for me. And one of the final restructures, my main boss position, it got impacted. So naturally my position gets impacted, and that was my answer. That was my answer to me of what I was praying for. And I just really wanted to, if it was meant to be, that this would happen, and it did. So follow your heart, a lot of faith, a lot of patience. And in the hardest moments, you have to be like a rock in a river. You know, you have to just let the water flow and hang into God and believe that He will take care of it.